Hi everybody, it is Coffee with Miss Kira and with the dapper Uncle Randy.
Hello, Miss Kira. You hornswoggled me here in the midst of the lake. It's all good.
We are learning about Foy Estate Coffee because Randy knows the Foys.
The history.
The history of the Foys.
I actually am a part Foy.
You are how?
I'm a quarter Foy.
Here, I was going to ask you. So, how did Foy Estate Coffee start?
Well, the excitement has been building for about 10 years, okay? But it goes back in the 1800s, 1850s, when, strangely, my great-grandmother came to Wisconsin, short version, about 1888 in a covered wagon, and German heritage on every side of my family. But I'm glad you asked, because right now, of course, we're launching our Distillery Channel coffee.
Yes.
And working with a minister of coffee that we've been dealing with, the incredible hiding behind the curtain guy. And anyway, what happened was that our heritage in coffee, everybody in our family, the name Weckerly means wake early in German.
Unlike the Petersons, it's not wake early.
Who would be a Peterson?
Me.
Nah, I know it. Anyway, we got to drag her out of bed almost every morning at about 7 o'clock just to
I
get
need
her
my
here.
coffee.
But some of us have been up since about 3. So
no.
Anyway, going back a little bit of the history, back in the 1800s, my great-grand Benoy came to southwest Wisconsin and brought all these great, wonderful recipes from Germany and from her heritage. And then her daughter Genevieve Benoy married my grandfather Nevin Foy.
Mm-hmm.
And my heritage is that I spent a lot of time beginning at about the age of 4 every weekend going to Lake Higanza in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And when it's very cold in small cottages and your grandpa Pop-Pop is...
I love that his name is Pop-Pop.
Yeah, exactly. He would take Randy along with him, and we'd go into town and buy what's called Schwarzbrot in German, or black bread.
How do you say that again?
Schwarzbrot. So in German, Schwarz is black, Brot is bread.
Okay, Schwarzbrot.
Yeah, very heavy crust on the outside. And it'd be very cold in the cottage in April, because these are very small old cottages with kerosene warmers, basically, that blew up a lot.
Oh.
And anyway, we were up there to do renovations. I just loved my grandfather, so I was up there just being the gopher. But in the morning we were cold, and he said, "Yeah, have a cup of this." So I thought it was cocoa. Well, not at all. It was coffee.
No.
So we started looking at, in my family, my sons, everybody going all the way back drinks coffee, and the heritage actually goes back into the early 1800s that we can track back.
So, isn't there a Café de Foy in France?
Yeah, we're tracking that down. It's pretty interesting.
So tell everybody what's that story.
Well, I don't know if we want to claim to be the rabble rouser or not, but my cousin Lawrence Foy is over there doing research. The Café du Foy, D-U-F-O-Y, still exists as a cafe southeast of Paris. Beautiful. You can go online and see it. But back in the day when the French Revolution started, the history of coffee, Miss Kira, is that coffee's always been, like it is today, a place where people congregate.
Yep.
And Lloyd's of London basically started people talking about it up in London back in the day. People would congregate and share stories. Of course, the history of coffee we're going to get into a little bit later, where it started with a bunch of crazy sheep.
Sheep.
Drinking it. How many years ago was that we found out?
Wasn't it 17? No,
years ago.
Maybe 1400, 1500.
Yeah, our historian sitting across the table about coffee. Anyway, what happened is that back in the day when the French Revolution was being talked about passionately in Café de Foy, is that a gentleman stood up on the table and he said, "Vive la France, here we go," and basically French Revolution began in Café de Foy. Go online, Google it.
Café de Foy.
D-U-F-O-Y. Yeah.
So tell me about these different waves of coffee. Tell the viewers about first wave, second wave, third wave, and now there's a new wave called fourth wave coffee that I think we started.
Well, we'll get to that.
But tell them about the first.
We fell into it. Sometimes you fall into things. when your Einstein said is that he believed he wasn't a genius, but he also believed that how a genius performed is that they took an accumulated known set of facts and repositioned them and put them together in a unique way that people never thought of before. And well, what happened with us, we got lucky, and we had a company and a family that did a lot of research.
Yep.
But the 4 waves of coffee were the first wave of coffee after...
First wave.
Yeah, the first wave of coffee, beginning about 1900. Coffee had gone around the world, and obviously it's a great, it's a great part of diets and people look forward to because it makes you feel good.
Because if I don't have coffee, he's not too happy.
She looks a lot like me in the morning if she doesn't have coffee.
I am not a happy camper.
No.
I need my coffee.
And every time she shows up for work, she's got a fresh
pot of coffee.
Of our coffee, and it's sensational. So what happened was 1900 to 1960 was the first wave.
First wave.
And that was basically the first time that companies like Folgers and Maxwell House decided that they were going to grind coffee and put it into a store and sell it in cans and mass market it. Now, if you go back a little bit earlier than that, advertising in America never started until about 1850, when somebody in a western town decided to post a handwritten note that, hey, everything in the trading post is for sale. So advertising really was only 50 years into advertising and marketing, and they decided to do this. Good to the very last drop, a little incident on that. Maxwell House's claim to fame is that
President
Teddy Roosevelt was drinking it on a porch, Maxwell House coffee, and he said to the owner of Maxwell House, "Boy, this stuff is
good to the last drop."
Good to the last drop. And that's how they got there. So I tell you about falling into it. Have a president sit and tell you got to get something good.
Yes.
That's good. So anyway, first wave.
First wave.
Big cans of coffee, first time mass marketed, 1900 and 1960. 1960 comes along.
Second wave.
In the 70s, the second wave was basically people said, hey, this might be a business. And out in Seattle, they decided to grow coffee shops. So Starbucks and Pete's and
Caribou.
All those were started in the 70s, and I claim that that's when Jamie Lee Curtis getting ready for the 80s and doing her workout programs and all that, and when women got in shape every day, and she featured it in a movie, is that she was just high on coffee from the 70s. Anyway, but everybody drank a lot of coffee in coffee shops, and they grew to pay, starting at about $2.50 a cup to now $75 a cup can be bought out in San Francisco. So that was the second wave. Third wave. People decided, well, there must be something more to coffee, want to look into this, and people become sensitive to looking at where the coffee beans come from, how they're produced, if it's fair traded, how the people are harvesting it. Just around the world there are these great coffee beans. So starting in 2002, the third wave started. And people decided to take a look at each cup of coffee uniquely. They would have some of those elements built into it, and they decided that paying a little bit more for a great cup of coffee at home would be better. Now, the cool thing about coffee is if you have great coffee, you don't have to put milk in it. Yeah. So if you take a look at some of these coffee shops, the reason people put milk in it, think about it. If you're going into these big coffee shops, do you drink it black?
No.
Universally, everybody says no. What's the first thing they ask? You want milk in that?
Do you want room for milk?
Yeah. Do you want
some flavor shots?
Yeah.
I used to be an ex-barista, so I know all those terminologies.
And strangely, going from a $2.50 cup of coffee to a $5 cup of coffee magically is through the sale of
milk.
A half a cup of milk. Now, who gets away with that? But they do. They warm it up, put it in there, and make you believe it tastes good.
Yep.
So everybody got that. So everybody then decided to take a look at individualizing this cup. And what happened was, we being the Distillery Channel.
This is fourth wave?
Fourth wave has been sort of like, what's the next wave?
Yes.
And we decided to take a look at these specialty beans.
Yep.
And we decided about 8 years ago that we knew this minister of the bean, we'll call him. Coffee
Master
bean.
of the bean.
Yep. Who, we never know if he's riding up the hill on his burros.
His donkey.
Yeah. Or if he carries them down on the back of the donkey. But he goes out and he has found these amazing coffee beans.
Yes.
From all over the world. Ethiopia, Kenya, Guatemala.
Papua New Guinea.
Everywhere. And Mexico.
Yes. Brazil.
Yep. And anyway, he had poured us a cup of coffee, and we were like, a few years ago, like, man, that's amazing. And we had heard that, we thought because of the Distillery Channel, Miss Kira and I have talked to, how many different interviews have we done, Miss Kira, total?
In the past year, to state leaders and to Small craft breweries, wineries, distilleries, probably over 100.
Yeah, it's over. Well, it's way over 100 actually. It's about It's actually since I started before Miss Kira joined the company, about 6 years ago. I started traveling, and all the way from Maui to Florida to Texas, Arizona, Colorado, down in the Southwest, and talking to the small craft world, distillers, brewers, and wineries. We actually have over 500 interviews that I've been have on camera. Miss Kira and I do with Chef Dave
every Friday morning.
Every Friday morning, who's another story we'll talk about later in an interview.
Yes.
But basically, what happened was we got to know these people across the country.
Yep.
And we said, what would happen if talking with our Minister of Magic, and I'm not really sure who he is. He's always behind the curtain. And he's got magical stuff and a proprietary roaster. I don't know how it works, but all I know is it's different. And it's wonderful, and it is proprietary.
I was going to say, he could be M squared.
He could be somebody, but I think it's somebody. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's the spirit.
Yeah. But anyway, what happened is that we decided to try to delicately wrap the world's greatest coffee beans by design and a lot of testing and roasting methods, the country's best bourbons, wines, rums, moonshine, brewed products,
brandy,
white and red wine. I mean, how good are those? They're all great. And sometimes it took the master or the minister of the bean months.
Yes.
And sometimes we thought it was failures, and we had one we thought was awful. All we had to do was wait for it to age. I can't say who it is, but it is an amazing product.
Yes.
And anyway, we did a lot of testing. He did a lot of testing, and now we're launching. We are the fourth wave because it's called the fourth wave of craft coffee. So not only are we taking specialized beans, doing the research, everything the third wave had, but we are taking the fourth wave, called now the fourth wave of craft coffee, title given to us by somebody outside the country, actually, who said, this is where you're really at. You're uniquely positioned for this. So we have, when you .com, fourthwavecraftcoffee.com, that's this beautiful young human being doing this interview, which has gone on way too long. But she always wondered how the Foy Estate Coffee, we're actually going to have a brand of coffee.
Yes.
That's going to be with my heritage and my passion and our family's passion to provide the best coffee.
An extended family. And members of our company that's going to be in this. We're only going to put Foy Estate Coffee on it, only if it's the best. Yes.
And only if it could have different blends, different roasts.
Yes.
Different infusions in it, but it's not only going to be, it is spectacular. We have it.
It is spectacular.
Yeah. Do you like that coffee this morning?
I love that coffee this morning. I always wake up, and when I come to work, I have breakfast and coffee for me. That's true. And if I need a drink,
well, it's that time of day. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers,
we'll try to
Dapper
infuse
Uncle
this.
Raymond.
And you, Miss Kira. And I'm telling you, don't stand on the table and revolt.
No.
It's already been done once. Okay.
Vive la France.
There you go. Have a good day.
Cheers, everybody.
Yo guy out. Bye-bye.
It's very good.